Hi, today we've got my Seiko Tuna. This is the, just focus on that, this is the SBBN013, otherwise known as the Darth Tuna. They always say if Darth Vader was to have a watch, it would be a beast like this. The Tuna is Seiko's answer to the ultimate dive watch. The first Tuna came around in 1975 and was an automatic. But then in 78, the criticism of some of the divers at the time, they wanted a quartz movement. The simple fact is, without a power reserve, no one knew if a watch might stop underwater. And back then was when people actually, these were people using the watch for the intended purpose. And if a watch was to stop, then that could be a life and death situation, where nowadays, obviously, well, I believe that hardcore divers use computers and all that. So the quartz movement in this actually has an end of life indicator where it jumps it will stop for 3 seconds and then jump 3 seconds. This is to indicate to you that the battery life is near completion. It won't suddenly stop. You can get a couple of months normally, and so that was better for divers to know if it was coming to the end of the term of the battery. The battery actually lasts normally about 5 years on this watch. The quartz movement is a 7C46 high torque movement and was made only for this watch. So when I say only this watch, this model of watch is the Tuna. The Tunas basically come in two varieties. This being the full fat as in 1,000 meter divers. But when I say 1,000 meters, there's actually a video can be found online where I believe that Seiko actually put these on an SB13 like this on the outside of a submersible, and it went all the way down to 3,300 meters before failure. So let me zoom in on this. I'm having problems with my camera today because it keeps overheating. Sony's, gotta love them. So that's the full fat model. This is the semi-skimmed. This is a 300 meter version. This reference number is SBBN013. And the big difference between the two, obviously the difference in dive depth, is this one doesn't have a case back, where this one has a more traditional case back. So when you need to change a battery on this model, you have to remove these 4 Torx screws. Once you remove that, you can then release the shroud. The shroud on this model is made of ceramic. Very, very scratch resistant material, very, very strong, but being ceramic, it is brittle. As a friend of mine who had a IWC pilot's watch once found out when he dropped it on the floor and the case did shatter. Yeah, that cost him a few thousand. So basically, once you remove this shroud, you can then release the bezel. The bezel then you can just pop off. There's 2 springs and there's a locking ring nut which holds, in this case, the sapphire crystal with AR coating on. Once that can be removed, then the actual movement can be taken out of the watch and you can replace the battery. On the semi-skim version, you don't have to remove the bezel. And the bezel on this model only has 3 Torx screws. Originally they were Phillips screws I still own, but I had these nice Torx ones made for it and they really do look quite nice. The difference with this one is it has a standard case back. When I brought this watch about 4 years ago, I brought it from an auction shop, an auction site in Berlin. And basically there was a picture of the movement, the case off the back of the watch. And then when I received the watch after winning it, on the second day of wearing it, I realised the case back was loose, so it's nice to know that they screwed it in nice and tight. So all I did, being that this actually, it's hard to believe, but this is a 30-year-old watch. All I did was brought a new case back seal and tightened it up, so just to be on the safe side. these two watches, actually out of two, I do actually like this one more. There's a big price difference between the two. This is a very desirable model. The 007 is still desirable, but there's a big price difference between the two. There's almost, well, over double, I'd say, for this one. Size-wise, they're no shrink in violet. This one is a 48mm, this one is a 47mm, 16mm thick, 15mm thick, I believe. They may sound like really intimidating sizes, as in it won't, you know, if you've got a small 6.5 inch, if you've got a 6.5 inch wrist, you might not be able to pull it off. But honestly, because if I show you here, I'll put another picture in. If I put this one on, remember I've got 7 inch wrist, 7. When you actually see the two side by side next to my, well, this Panerai, which I've done a video of before, this is a 44mm Panerai, and look how much bigger it wears. Reason being is the lugs. The lug width between, the distance between the two lugs. Between where the lugs connect with the strap. The tuners, the lugs are actually inboard of the watch. So you see how the lugs are actually inside the watch diameter, and it makes it wear a lot smaller. So don't be intimidated by the size. You can get away with wearing one of these. I say they're not, they have got great wrist presence, but they're not overpowering. That doesn't look, on my wrist there, it doesn't look like a 47mm watch. Normally you'd think that would be too much, but from this, you know, from what I'm looking at the monitor, this looks like a 40mm watch. So they're not particularly big. And the kind of nice thing when you're wearing a sub is it's not pretending to be any other watch. You get a lot of watches which, you know, especially dive watches, tend to look like a Submariner. So this is completely out there on its own. This, the Darth Tuna, this one is quite special because it does have a full titanium case, ceramic bezel. The insert, I believe the bezel is just steel. It's a 120 click and it's got a lovely, to sound nice, doesn't it? It's sad, but that's somehow satisfying. It's very tight actually. It's not an easy to move bezel, which is the whole purpose of it, I dare say. Another thing to note with with tuners is the loom is amazing. If I just quickly put a torch on here, they are sensational. So they really do glow. They're like a torch at night. Even this one is, what is it, 30 years old. And if I put the torch on there just for a second, you can see, probably not the best, I'll put a different shot in later. But you can see amazing loom. They really are quite special watches. They do get a lot of attention. They definitely a beast of a watch, and they look fantastic with different straps. They are, after all, a 22mm lug width. Though I say that, this one is fitted with a strap code bracelet, which is in super engineered too, which is amazing. And they actually recommend 21.5 for the bracelets. And I'd have to agree, because they do taper. So this one, I put a 22mm bracelet on, and I had to modify the ends just to get it to fit properly. But it really is a beastie of a watch. It does get a lot of attention, and being a quartz, it's a great grab and go watch. You can just pick them up and that's it. You know they're ticking. They also have the Japanese on the, I don't know if I can quite focus in there, on the date wheel. So you can have either English or Japanese. Even though I can't read Japanese, it just looks so good. So I do like that. On a side note, James Bond actually wore one of these watches. He wore the Golden Tuna in For Your Eyes Only. So he thought they were good enough. They do actually have a helium release valve, but unlike the unsightly ones from Omega, or even the little button type one on the side of a Rolex, it's built into the gasket. So the gasket's an owl gasket and will allow helium to pass by it. which is another kind of interesting touch. But yeah, so there you go. That is the Seiko Darth Tuna and a little bit of the SBBN 007, the standard tuna. This one is actually for sale at the moment, so if anyone's interested, you can contact me. But yeah, box and paperwork. I still have this feeling that if I sell it, I'll end up having to buy another one. I've done that a couple of times, which isn't clever, but that's how it goes. So there you go. That's the Seiko Darth Tuna, and that's the Seiko SBBN 007. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you again.